Hey guys, this is Miss Mull, and today we are going to learn all about how to find the meaning of a word. And I really want you to become a word detective. Let's grab our magnifying glass. Let's grab our little hats. Let's grab our flashlights or whatever prop you can get today when we get into the text. It'd be awesome. Now, of course, if you don't have a prop, you can still do your work. But sometimes it's really cool to dim the lights and get into a text and try to be detectives. Try to make connections. Try to find some clues. My standard for today and your standard for today is you need to determine the meaning of a word or phrase in a text that is your grade level or your subject area. And today we're going to practice doing just that. If you heard, I was playing Inspector Gadget, and he's like, I don't know, he's like old school cartoon that was always sleuthing around and trying to make connections and solve the mystery. And that's what we want to be. We want to be word detectives. We want to solve the meaning of a word by using different strategies. Hey guys, I do have a little bit of a cough, so I'm so sorry if I do have to cough during this video. Don't want to do it, but sometimes it just happens. So I want to welcome you guys. I'm Miss Mull, so welcome to all of the fourth graders, the fourth grade lovely learners at Hidden Valley. I'm going to work through this learning target with you, hopefully highlight some strategies that you already know. Today, really what we're going to try to do is to figure out what words in our text mean. And not only what the words mean, but really attack or what the words mean, but really what the words are, right? Like not be intimidated by a big word that we don't know. Not be intimidated by something that we've never seen, but rather go in and really try to make those connections. I want you to be word ninjas, right? I want you to be word warriors, not warriors. Like you're going into battle to determine what these words, these new ideas are, and really build your confidence. And I think these strategies that are listed on this page and this learning target really helps us focus. I don't want you to be a word victim anymore. I don't want you to say, well, I can't, so I won't. I know what it's like to bump into something that you don't know and just kind of give up. And to be quite honest with you, students do it all the time and adults do it all the time. When we are not sure of something or we have to learn something new and it counts, like it matters because our comprehension level needs to improve, but it's not improving because I'm just kind of giving up. Like it matters, or I need to learn something for my job that's new and it's difficult and it takes muscle like in my brain. And so I really want us not to just glaze over words that we don't know or not use these strategies that are listed on the left. I really want us to become that word detective, that word ninja, that word warrior, that person that is just going to go in and absolutely 100% try their best. I can determine the meaning of a word within a text by using the following strategies. And say that target to yourself. Say it out loud. If you were in class at Hidden Valley, you'd probably say it out loud. So it's there for you to think about. Sometimes the author gives us a definition, or he or she explains the word. Sometimes you see parentheses or commas within inside a text, and that is just literally like a light bulb, like a flashlight moment, like, whoa, I'm paying attention as a word detective. Like, hello. Like, bow, bow, bow. Like, it's a gift when the author does that. Sometimes the author gives us a synonym or a comparison. Sometimes the author tells us really what the word is by explaining what it what it isn't, and that's the antonym. Sometimes I just get really great examples from the author. Maybe I didn't know what it meant, but he sure is, or she sure is explaining it like I'm right there in the text and I can figure this out. Sometimes I have to infer. In fiction, I do a lot of inferencing, kind of taking the gist of a paragraph or a sentence and trying to make connections that way. And then one other strategy would be to pull apart the word parts. Maybe I know a prefix. Maybe I know that dis means not or un means not. Dislike, unclear. And maybe I'm starting to pull out different parts and using those parts to determine the meaning of an actual word. Okay, so what is a word victim and what do they behave like? And what is a word detective and how do they behave? So we're going to go over this slide and we're going to start with what a word victim is. This is sort of like the I don't really want you being like this side of the slide. We've all been there. We've all mumbled over a word, hoping that our teacher wouldn't go, what did you say? Right? A word victim. Sometimes they're the mumbler and they mumble over a word that they don't know. And we do it because we're intimidated. We do it because we don't know. We're not doing it because we're like a bad reader. Sometimes it's just hard. But there are strategies to break apart and pull apart different parts of a word. And so we're going to get into that on the word detective side. So don't be a mumbler. A word victim is someone who tries to read the first part of the word and then they're like, oh, no, they give up. How is that going to help your comprehension if you're giving up, right? Sometimes a word victim is just someone who just skips the word altogether. And then word victims, they're like Miss Mull, Miss Heb, Miss Gist, Miss Dare, Miss Jefferson, Miss Allison. I don't know. What is this? What's this? Listen. Try before you ask. Right? Put in the effort. A word victim is someone who will ask the teacher without even trying themselves. If you don't try, there's no muscle memory, right? There's no whoa, I remember struggling. And so every time you try, it just really does build that knowledge. And even if you're not successful, you've put in the work and you will be so excited when you do finally get to where you want to be in your reading journey. Instead of being a word victim and someone who is intimidated by a word or doesn't quite get there, at least try by being a detective, being that ninja, being that reader that's like, you know what, I'm going to reread this several times and see if there are clues. And I'm going to reread this, take a break, maybe come back, right? Instead of glossing it over and not trying. I'm going to go in several times. A word detective is someone who breaks apart the word by chunking it. It's cool to go in there and try to find the meaning of a word, but if you don't even know what the word is, you have to start there. And sometimes when we get to 4th, 5th, 6th grade, that content that we're learning, it's all new. It's totally new. So our science becomes harder, our social studies becomes harder because we don't have any schema on what we're even talking about. So sometimes we just really have to start at the basics. And sometimes the basics is just looking at the word, not even worrying about the meaning because we have to figure out what the word is. So a word detective, when they're stuck, they pull apart the word. And when that fails or they can't figure that out, then we're going to use some of these strategies like synonym and definition. A word detective, someone that doesn't give up, maybe even comes close to sounding it out correctly. You know what? Your teachers are going to notice. We're going to hear you. We're going to see you. And then when you come and you ask us, we're for sure. Listen, no question is really a bad question, but what I would say is if you haven't tried yourself yet, try yourself on your own, then come in and ask, because for sure your teachers are here to help. I have this little moment over on this side here. I'm just going to move my head first. It's really sensitive. And the word is really big. It's a scientific word. And I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to break it apart. So I'm going to model that for you. I have met, more, faux, cis. Meta, metamorpho, metamorphosis, metamorphosis. Okay. It takes a little bit of time, doesn't it? And maybe you were like, well, I didn't know what that was, but I kind of see how she's put that together. Oh, yeah, one time in science class, we talked about metamorphosis. We talked about how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, how a tadpole becomes a frog, and how they physically change, and that there are stages. That is what metamorphosis means. Sometimes you just have to hear the word and you're like, oh, yeah, I know that word. Excuse me. Okay. This is a video. I'm going to actually have you come back and watch the video below, and you're going to review the strategies that help us become word detectives. It's another teacher that does a really good job about the strategies, like the synonym and the antonym strategy, and she does a really good job about kind of being silly about the word detectives. There's a little cartoon in here. We're not going to spend time watching it together, but you are coming back to watch it on your own. Okay. This is the strategy slide. Okay. We don't want to be a victim. We want to be a detective. We don't want to be a victim. We want to be a ninja. Okay. We don't want to give up. And here are some strategies that maybe will help us. You know, sometimes you're like, okay, I don't remember all of these strategies all the time, but the more you practice, the more you will. First strategy, definition. I call this an author's whisper, because the author will come right out and say what the word means, like he or she is whispering it to you. This is often found with the word and definition separated by commas, or the word or, and often parentheses are used to surround the definition. This is super common in nonfiction. I mean, this happens all the time. I remember reading about the Patriots and the Loyalists, and I remember reading the word loyalists and having the word Tories right behind it in parentheses. There's another strategy, and authors use this all the time, and it's another author's whisper, and it's the example. This is often used with keywords such as. See what I did there? Or the word like. The example will often be in the same sentence. It's also common in nonfiction. Then we have the synonym, the same, the comparison strategy. This is when an idea is repeated or said in a different way that means the same thing as the unknown word. Excuse me. I was so weary this morning. I was up all night. The dog kept me up, and I didn't even sleep a wink. I am so tired. In this example that I just kind of came up with on the top of my head, I have this word weary. And maybe you don't use that word often. But I followed it up with an example and an explanation. Like, I didn't sleep. My dog kept me up. And then I used the word tired. So I'm connecting the idea of being weary to tired with this story of my dog keeping me up, how I didn't sleep. To be tired is to be weary. To be weary is to be tired. Pay attention to when authors use words that are similar. Well, if they use words that are similar, they use words that are different. An antonym. This is when the word means the opposite of the ideas expressed. So you're going to see keywords such as but, however, in contrast, although, or. I really hope my daughters don't walk in because I hear them in the hallway. So if we get interrupted, I apologize, but I'm not starting over. Just FYI. All right, so antonym. If I wake up fresh-faced, full of energy, vibrant, I went to bed at 7 at night and woke up at 8 a.m. in the morning, I would be rested, rejuvenated, and I was giving you the examples of why and how. You would know that I'm contrasting the word weary with this whole idea of being like, la la la, like, yes, today is a great day. Trust me, people that are weary, they're not waking up with all kinds of energy. So I know that there's a difference, an antonym. We have inference. I tell my kiddos that this is the strategy that they will use the most in fiction text. In fact, they have to figure out the gist of the paragraph or sentence around the word. We do this all the time. We write the gist out, like, what is this about? Okay? Even with our SQ3R moments. Like, we're jotting down what the moment is about and using those clues and making that connection. And then, not on this slide, but talked about it earlier, is just the breaking apart of words. The more prefixes and suffixes you know, the more words you actually can go, well, I don't know the word, but there's a negative prefix like dis or non or un in front of it. So I know negative prefixes are going to be negative words, right? So you start to pull apart different parts of words. We have these strategies that are really helpful. Two of them are sort of author's whispers, like, hello, pay attention. The definition and the example. We have synonyms. So sameness, we're starting to look for similar. Antonyms, opposites, inferences, and word parts. All right, we're going to practice. In class, we do an I do, a we do, a you do. And so this is kind of the I do. I'm going to read these examples. I'm going to walk through the thinking strategies. And obviously, the answers, are right here, obviously, because they're highlighted. But even before I get to the answer, because I'm really very much invested into the process, not just the result and the product. I really want you to be using these process moments to get to your work when you get to start to apply it. I want you to model or do what I model. Jody bought a gift for her mom at a cart in the mall. The kiosk sells special chocolate candies. Kiosk means I have 4 choices. I have car, office, department, and cart. One of these words is actually in the sentence. I know you have seen it. I don't care about the answer. I care about right now how I get to the answer. Sloppy readers might go in and see the word car and just visually they see and think car is cart. I know we've all done it. But really, if you are thinking about what you just read, We haven't talked about a car. We're talking about a mall. We're talking about Jody buying a gift. We're talking about how she picked up chocolate candies. We're not talking about a car. Does it look like the word cart? Sure. But be a detective. Got it? Get those flashlights out and those magnifying glasses and those serious like work blazers and hats, man. Okay? Don't be lazy readers. We have the word office. I mean, I don't think of the word office when I think of the word mall. There are offices, I'm sure, in the back of different stores for like the manager and different things, but like it's not like an office building or like a school where there's a front office. I'm left with the word department and cart. When I look at the word department, and I think about the word department, it does have a connection to the mall in two ways. We can say department store, like Macy's is a department store, Belk is a department store, Dillard's is a department store, but it's being used as an adjective. And to be honest with you, we're looking for a noun. We're looking for a thing. Then I have the word cart. Cart is in the sentence. She bought her mom a gift at a cart. All of you have been in the mall. All of you have seen these kiosks that line the center of the walkway, the corridor. You have traffic on both sides, so to speak, and people are selling earrings and, picture frames and curling irons and I don't know, cream from the Middle East, right? I mean, I'm always getting little packets going, you want a sample? You want a sample? That's what a kiosk is called. There's a kiosk at one of the malls that I go to that has those cute little squishies and then like a phone case kiosk and sunglass kiosk. So I want you to think about real life when you're thinking about using these strategies. The example is cart. It's an author's whisper. And that is an example as a strategy. I got to go back. Sorry about that. Okay. Birds that migrate, such as some ducks and geese, leave their homes in the winter. Migrate means, well, I have this idea of birds leaving their homes. I've seen it, you've seen it. They're super loud in a V formation, like right when winter's coming. They're all headed down south, okay, where it's warmer. Migrate is a verb, just like leave. All of these choices are actually what ducks. Oh God, that's my Baron. Shh. Stop it. Baron. Oh my gosh, that is not a duck or a geese. That literally is my dog, and he's like, I guess, acting like a duck or a geese. That's hilarious. Sometimes he kind of like, I know it sounds like he's choking, but he's fine. Sorry. Okay. Ducks and geese, they do these things. They're verbs. They all swim, they fly, they move, they stay. I want you to think about you. I mean, if you lived in a house or lived in a place and then you left your home, you packed up and you left your home, what would you be doing? Would you be swimming, flying, moving, or staying? Okay. You made the connection. Birds are moving. Now, I know I put move, but I meant moving. The author gives you an example of migrate. He gives you the example of the ducks and the geese moving. One of the things that I know that you might have done is you might have been like, well, they fly. They're flying. They're not swimming to the south. They're flying south. But the reason why the answer is not B, why it's not flying, is because flying is how they are moving. But the answer, I'm not flying. When you move houses, you're not flying, you're moving. Okay? Hope that helps. I mean, how hilarious that he was making the noise of a duck or a geese. I mean, he literally, a goose, a geese, a goose, a geese. He sounded just like one of them. One of them that was mad. He's not mad. All right, so I did, and now we are going to do this together. And I'm actually okay with a little bit of awkward silence. I'm going to read, but I'm not going to jump right in and explain because I want you to have a moment to think this through on your own. So I modeled. Now we are going to do this together. Think about the strategies that we have talked about so far. His rancor or hatred of his brother has caused him to live his life as a lonely person. Rancor means I have love, generous, hatred, tolerance. We know what love means. Generous means to give. Hatred, you have that in your heart. You don't like somebody. Tolerance, you sort of put up with it with somebody. Okay? Rancor or hatred of his brother has caused him to live his life as a lonely person. Think about what your answer might be. Think about what your strategy might be. I want you to eliminate 2 choices. Truth be told, I've never in my whole life used the word rancor. But because of the clues that are given, I know what it means. I have the word rancor, hatred, and lonely. I don't really know. I'm going to act like I don't know what rancor means, but I do know that hatred is negative, and then being lonely is negative. I have 2 positive choices. I'm doing a lesson. Sorry, excuse me. I have 2 positive choices that I'm going to eliminate. Love, generous. I'm left with hatred and tolerance. Hopefully, you saw these commas, and hopefully, you connected that this idea goes back to the word rancor. Earlier, we talked about parentheses or commas. And so there is a clue, a word detective moment. Shine that flashlight right on that, please. Open up your eyes, get in there, and think. Your choice is hatred. Your strategy. Maybe you went back to the slides that talked about this strategy, and that is fine. I would take 2. I would take the example or the explanation because we have a brother that caused, this moment of him living lonely. We also have a synonym moment right here because we have either or. Number 4. Although Tom was anxious about the test, Tina was not worried at all. Anxious means think about how Tom was feeling. Think about how Tina was feeling. Tom was forgetful about the test. Tom was shy about the test. Tom was worried about the test. Tom was calm about the test. Eliminate one choice, please. Tina, she's not worried. When you're not worried about something, you are calm. I know you felt anxious, right? You're a ball of nerves. You're not shy. Shy is a little kid behind his mom's leg when you're like, "Hi, how are you?" And he's like trying to hide from you. That's shy, right? Tom was worried. We have this whole idea of not worried over here. And when there's an opposite moment, it is antonym. Okay. I keep having to move my head. I like to review the learning targets. I like to wrap things up. I like to remind my students about the learning target and the strategies, just to sort of close our time together. So if you would like to read this while I read it out loud, I can determine the meaning of a word within a text by using the following strategies. I can pay attention for definitions, explanations. I can pay attention to synonyms when the author uses and makes a comparison, highlights a same moment or a similarity. Sometimes I learn the definition by paying attention to the fact that the author was doing the Tom and Tina moment, where it was the difference that helped me understand what it was. Authors give us examples. Sometimes we do have to infer, but sometimes we also can pull apart the words. I didn't give us examples of all of these strategies in these slides, but sometimes you might be at a place where you're like, I'm not sure, right? And some of them are easier than others. But hopefully we can start to use those strategies as we are, being word ninjas and attacking the word itself, right? Not giving up. And then B, going in and being that detective, that word sleuth, that word smith, the word builder. Our comprehension increases when our word knowledge increases, bottom line. And the more words that that is put in front of you and that you are exposed to, the better you will be. We have got to build that schema. We have got to build those building blocks. I love synonyms. I just think synonym building is critical to our word knowledge. So as you are working through your other lesson part today, I want you to just be thinking about all these new words that hopefully you'll be introduced to, and these strategies that will help you become that word detective. You have a task today. You have several. I want you to review the slides for a second time. You have to look at that video. I'm also going to provide you a new text that I want you to use these strategies, or some of these strategies, about being that word detective, that word sleuth, that word ninja, not being a word victim, looking at those clues. So I will attach an article. You'll have some questions, some vocabulary questions. You'll have 2 assignments. One will be you'll be submitting something through the text box where you're going in and answering the question right there in Canvas. We did an example of this when we were introducing Canvas to you, and you went in and did something in red ink, like the red text. I don't want you to doing it in red. I want you doing it in black. But we're going to do that type of assignment. It'll be called assignment 1. And then your second assignment will be the exit ticket vocabulary quiz, where I'll just give you a couple of moments like we practiced in these slides, and then some choices, and then you select your best choice using the strategies presented. Some of the questions that I will give you is I'll actually ask you, what strategy did you use? So definitely before you go in and finish that second assignment, review the slides, especially the strategy slide. I call it a quiz. It's not technically a quiz, but that's what it's called in Canvas. So remember, you can do this. If you have questions about this assignment, please do not hesitate to ask me or your homeroom teacher that teaches your block. But really, really appreciate your time and effort today. And thank you so much for paying attention. All right. Bye, guys.